it is time for us to do
Strap history.
No, that's not what this is called. This is not called that. This is called something else. So this is where we do Black Queer History, where we teach you the history that is soon to be illegal. Today, I am going to talk about buffet flats. Buffet flats of the 1920s, Ooh. Right? Okay, so I've been reading the Bessie Smith autobiography. Through it, I'm just like kind of finding a lot of like real interesting stuff about the gay people in the Harlem Renaissance, especially the gay girls, the lady lovers, as they used to call them. So I stumbled upon this phenomenon called buffet flats. Buffet flats, sometimes called good time flats. They were small, privately owned, unlicensed clubs. They were apartments that were just like rearranged, that were like, they would do like gambling, they would do some work, there was a lot of dancing and partying and a piano. It would just, they take somebody's apartment and they take everything out except for the piano. And everybody would come around. It was like the mix of a speakeasy and a brothel.
I
right?
love it.
Exactly. So the thing is, buffet flats were different from the speakeasies of the 1920s, right? So during Prohibition, they had the speakeasies, right? And those were like more for the upper echelon or for the middle class people, right? The buffet flats came out of the story of the rent parties, right? So the rent parties, I think people still do them, but rent parties of the 1920s were when like poor Black people that had migrated from the South would come. They lived in these same neighborhoods and they would just have parties. They charge people in the neighborhood a bit of money to come party and dance and drink.
Oh, yeah, I've seen Friday After Next.
That's right. Yes. Yes. Okay. Sure. But the rent parties were like, of course, the Christian Negro people were always very upset whenever Black people started having fun or whatever. But the rent parties were a little bit more respectable, right? You know, it was dancing, it was drinking, it was, eating chitlins and stuff. But it wasn't all that. The buffet flats, however, they were called buffet flats because...
all you can eat.
That's right. That's right. You have a buffet of everything you want,
Like a Golden Corral of coochie.
That's really,
yeah.
But it was like, do you want some coochie? Do you want some this? Do you want some that? Do you want some this? Anything that you want would be available at the buffet flat. So they would have erotic shows, which featured lots of different snacks. They had, you could pay for your own to go to the back room or whatever. Also, the hostess in the front was also kind of a bank, right? So a big thing that emerged that created the buffet flats were the Pullman porters. So right, these were porters that like they were the ones that made the most money, but they would go from town to town to town to town. So whenever they would come to like layovers in cities like New York and Detroit, the porters would leave a bunch of their money that they made in cash with the hostess at the buffet flat. And then if you needed to take some out to get a little something to drink or to get a little noogie, then you would take the money out. So the hostess at the front would also act as a pretty trustworthy bank for those people. Sort of like, you ever been to like a Korean spa?
No.
If you go to the Korean spa, they give you whatever. Anyway, a little different.
Or like never mind.
Like, so when you go to the spa, right, every time you want something, they'll charge you on the wrist, right?
Oh, like Disney World.
Like at Disney World.
Yeah.
Yes, like Disney World for coochie. So they had existed for years, but Prohibition made it real popular. By 1927, at the height of Prohibition, there was an article called Buffet Flat Solves Many of High Society's Drinking Problems. It estimated that New York City had 10,000 buffet flats operating in Manhattan and Brooklyn. Yep. So a lot of Black queer women had to make their own separate buffet flats, but it was mostly lady lovers, but also like the gays would be there too. It was for everybody. So a lot of these were women who had never really explored their sexualities, never had the opportunity, and when they came here and they went buck wild, right? They would call them the sophisticated ladies, the girls with the short hair, the bull daggers, the bull dykers, the lady lovers, right? There was people like Gladys Bentley, Jackie Moms Mabley. She had her own buffet flat. Yes, and let's also shout out to Mabel Hampton. A lot of these records of the like first account, like especially like the tickets from, because they would have little special promo tickets that had like wink, wink, nudge, nudge, little words on them.
Yeah.
Those are from Mabel Hampton's records that she kept.
That is so cool.
So a lot of the queer black networks that we know of the time, they are more catered to the middle and the upper class black folk, right? Because that's how it works, right? You know, they have more time to keep records. They're probably moving less so they can hold on to stuff. So a lot of stuff about working class neighborhoods, we only have the working class like parties and queer networks. We only know of that because of vice squads. In particular, a vice squad called the Committee of 14 Snitches. So a lot of the records that we have of black queer life for working class people come from people who were looking down on it and trying to destroy it. Yeah, who were trying to destroy it. Shout out to Bessie Smith. Bessie Smith immortalized a buffet flat in a song she called the Soft Pedal Blues. It was soft pedal because the pianist uses the soft pedal so that it doesn't alert the neighbors too much, right? They don't want to get busted because they would get busted a lot. So Bessie Smith and her niece Ruby used to party at Detroit, and she wrote a song about it, and I'm not going to sing it, but the lyrics is like, she gave a dance last Friday night that was to end at 1, but when time was almost up, the fun had just begun. And then she's like, I'm drunk and full of fun. Go and spread the news. I got them soft pedal blues. Bars, right? So there was an interview called Life on the Road conducted by the dude who wrote the book that I'm reading right now about Bessie Smith, right? So Ruby, her niece, was like, a buffet flat? Nothing but and bull daggers. Everybody that was in the life, buffet means everything goes on. They had an F word that was so great that people used to come there just to watch him make love to another man. He'd give him a tongue bath, and by the time he got to the front of that guy, he was shaking like a leaf. People would pay good just to see him do his act. And then she talks about one night when she and Bessie were at a buffet flat after a show. 3 girls, myself, and 1 gay fellow. We all got to drinking, having this ball, and all of a sudden Bessie said, oh shit, stop all this motherfucking around and let's get naked and be ourselves. Well, we had 1 full-size bed and everybody got in that bed. Talk about knowing what to do. There was 3 girls and Bessie and I and the landlady. That's 6. Do you know that cat went through the whole crowd and got up and walked like a man? He said, I've had my ball. Now I'm going to go call up my husband.
Oh, my gosh.
I love bisexuals. I love bisexuals.
It needs to be a movie.
Right? I know. That's all I'm thinking. Every time I do any research into the Harlem Renaissance, I'm like, why isn't there a limited series about this? Anyway, so the buffet flats were ultimately destroyed by the Committee of 14 and ultimately by the end of Prohibition. They did go on somewhat into the 30s, but they died out because of depression. A few honorable mentions. Sometimes they had reverse paper bag tests because they didn't want the light skins in, because a lot of the vice people would be white people pretending to pass. In fact, the one that like really got a lot of them shut down was a teacher, is a black teacher who like passed, and he would come to the buffet flats, and he was the one recording, and he was the one that got it. Just hating. So they said no yellow bitches at the buffet.
No yellow bitches. Next.
Anyway, there's so much more, and it's really hard to find information about it, but what you can find is very cool. I'm going to try to put pictures of some of the tickets and stuff, because they got like, they'll be like, lavender. Like, it's so funny how they're like, comes, it's like, yeah, we get it, you gay.
Yeah.
It's so fun, and there's so much, it's hard to like get a lot of this information, so I'm going to shout out the people that I forgot whose name it was that like sent me the information.
We'll put it right here.
Okay. But look up
cool.
Look up buffet flats, look up more stuff about the Harlem Renaissance. It's spicy.
It's sexy. I like that. I like a little we need to bring back
say it. Oh, I forgot to say. They did try to bring back buffet flats. Like there is a
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, there's a place in San Francisco called I Zen, and they do these buffet flat cuisine, blah blah blah. It's pretty white.
That lame.
It's pretty rice skinned.
We need to bring back buffet flats. Let's have the reverse paper bag test and all. Let's come on. Okay. But that was really good. I love that.
Yes, that
was a good, a nice, good, spicy
black
queer history.
Yeah.